This is a talk and guided meditation on the practice of becoming one who is one. Why we practice and what it is we're truly training. So let's just begin by arriving. Let the body settle. Let the breath be felt. Let the noise of the day fall into the background. We're not here to become someone else. We're here to return. And what are we returning to? We're returning to something we've known all along. A longing not just to understand the truth, but to live it. A longing not to want just to love, but to be able to live from that love. A longing to speak in alignment with our heart, to act in alignment with our values, to become, in other words, wholly integrated. Because this is what it means to be human, isn't it? To know what's right and yet still not to do it. To want to be loving and yet often to act and speak unlovingly. To aspire to be free and yet still to act and speak reactively. To speak and act in ways that are influenced by unskillful conditioning, by greed, by hatred, by delusion. And this isn't new. This inner war between our aspirations and our actions. It's been spoken about for millennia. Shantideva, a 8th century Buddhist monk, once wrote, "Although I long to be free of suffering, I run toward it. Though I long for happiness, I destroy it as if it were my enemy." Paul, in his letter to the Romans, cried out, "I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate." Carl Jung saw this also in the depths of the psyche. He said, "In each of us there is another whom we do not know. He speaks to us in dreams and tells us how differently he sees from the way we see ourselves." Seneca named it plainly when he said that we are double-natured, one side drawn to what's right, the other to what's wrong. And Dostoevsky captured the agony of this inner split. He said, "What is hell? I maintain that it is the suffering of being unable to love." Gandhi, with clarity and grace, offered the antidote. He said that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. So here it is, the universal human wound. We are not one, we are actually divided. There are the selves that know and the many, many selves that forget. The ones that intend and the ones that act and speak against that very intention. In every tradition, every contemplative path that offers a way, not out but through, a way of healing that inner split, a path of practice where the inner war can begin to soften and the selves can return to itself. And this is what the Buddha walked. And when the Buddha referred to himself as the Tathagata, which means the thus gone one, or the one who is just thus, he wasn't making a metaphysical claim. He was naming a condition of inner wholeness. He had, through years of effort, become one who is one. A mind no longer at war with itself, a heart no longer divided, a life lived in alignment with its deepest truths, a mind in love with itself. So how did he arrive at that? What is the how? The how is the practice of mind training, the cultivation of samadhi and sati, concentration and mindfulness, or I think better, collectedness and presence. These are the two wings of the bird that carry us home. And at the heart of this training is a rhythm, simple, repeatable, reliable, and it goes like this: intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. This is the map. This is the practice. So let's walk it. Not just walk it, let's walk through it. First, we start with our intention. Begin by setting an intention, not a vague hope, but a clear inner direction. How long will I sit in meditation? What anchor will I use? This can be virtually anything, but for me, what works best is the sensation of the breath at the tip of the nose. Sometimes the rise and fall of the chest and belly. These are anchors that work best for me, but play with it. Find the anchor that works best for you. And after you set your intention, comes attention. With that intention set, you place your attention on your chosen anchor. You rest there gently, not grasping, not pushing. Think of like holding a butterfly cupped in your hands. Not too hard, not too soft, just a perfect balance between the two. You allow your peripheral awareness to remain open, but the center of your gravity is your anchor, your breath, or the rise and fall of your chest and belly. You're training the mind to unify around an intention. You're training the mind to unify around your aspiration. And then, suddenly, you forget. And it's not if you forget, but when. Because you will get lost. You will get pulled into a thought, a memory, an emotion. Perhaps it's a restlessness or a fantasy or worry, a plan for the future, a regret from the past. This isn't a failure. It's actually guaranteed. This is how the mind behaves when it's untrained. The mind roams, it scans, it flits away from this to become immersed into that. Forgetting is actually an integral part of the path. And then at some point, suddenly, no choice of yours, it will remember. Suddenly you just realize, I intended to be with the breath, and I wasn't. This moment is actually precious. It's not a sign of failure, it's the first spark of freedom. Because in that moment of remembering, you're no longer lost. You've just cultivated a moment of mindfulness. And so you again return. You return to your intention, not with judgment, not with disappointment. You return with tenderness, with care, with humility. You gently come back to your anchor. You rest your attention. You begin again. And then the cycle continues. Intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. 1 time, 10 times, 10,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and a many million times more, until something begins to shift, until the mind becomes steadier, until your attention follows your intention, until your actions Begin to reflect your aspirations until the war within begins to quiet. This is why we practice, not to escape life, not to achieve some perfect inner state, but to become free. Free to live the life our heart already knows is possible. We practice until the life we live is an expression of our love, until we become one who is one, until we are free. So let's do a meditation. Let's just call this the practice of returning. It's the practice of becoming one who is one, the practice of intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. Allow yourself to arrive. Take a moment to land in your body. Feel the ground beneath you. Allow the spine to be upright but not rigid. Imagine the muscles in the face and the forehead and the neck softening. Let the breath come and go naturally. And take a few moments just to feel that you're here. You've arrived. You've made space to sit and to listen. Let's begin by remembering why we practice. We practice not to become someone else. We're not trying to fix ourselves. We're trying, through steady, consistent practice, to close the gap between how we want to live and how we actually live. To bring our actions into alignment with our aspirations. We practice to train the mind so that we're less and less often pulled into reaction. Because real freedom, true inner freedom, isn't just about feeling good or de-stressing. It's being able to live from what we most deeply know to be true. To speak, act, and move in alignment with our highest aspirations. This practice is the ground, the training ground for that kind of freedom. We learn to steady the mind. We learn to return to presence. We learn to become one who's one. So, what is the shape of the practice? the practice moves in a rhythm. Think of this as a cycle of transformation, one that you'll recognize again and again. Intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. This is how the mind is retrained. This is how we come home. So let's walk through each of these now, not just as concepts, but as a lived experience. Start every sitting. Start by setting a clear intention. You might say quietly, silently in the mind, I intend to be present with the breath. You might set additional intentions to remain still, to bring kindness, to simply begin again when you've wandered. Choose an anchor. It could be the feeling of the breath of the nostrils or the rise and fall of the belly, the chest. Let that intention settle in your body. Feel it as a direction, not as a demand. I intend to rest my attention on the breath. Now begin by placing your attention gently on your chosen anchor. Feel the breath entering and leaving the body. Feel it exactly as it is. No need to change anything. Resting your attention on your anchor is like holding a flying butterfly, soft, steady, relaxed, not too hard, not too soft. And at the same time that you rest attention on your anchor, open your peripheral awareness. Allow other sounds and sensations, allow them to arise in the background. Rest your attention on the breath, on the sensations of the air entering the nostrils. And in the periphery, just allow everything to arise and dissolve on their own. And just stay with this for a few moments. And now, at some point, the mind will wander. Thoughts will pull attention away. You may have already been gone, lost in a memory, planning, judging, comparing. This isn't a mistake. It's not a failure. This is just forgetting. This is how the mind is conditioned to behave. And this is part of the path. So if you notice you've forgotten the breath, just pause and know you're not doing it wrong. You're beginning to wake up. And the moment you realize you've been distracted, this is remembering. This moment is precious. This moment is mindfulness coming alive. You might gently name it remembering. You intended to pay attention, and now you notice that you weren't. That insight is freedom. There's no need to analyze the distraction. Just notice. You've remembered, and that's enough. And now, gently return. Return to set your intention, then attend to your anchor, return to the breath, return to the body. No judgment, no harshness, just begin again. Feel the next breath as if it were your first. Feel it like it's an act of love. And let the rhythm, allow this rhythm to take root. Intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. Over and over, again and again. Remembering that you had intended to pay attention to your anchor and you weren't. That's remembering, then returning. Intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. Over and over, again and again. Intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. Over and over, again and again. Let this rhythm become familiar. Are you forgetting? Well, now you're not. Now you're remembering. Now you're gently, compassionately, lovingly, joyfully returning. Set your intention. Rest your attention on your breath. Each cycle a step toward greater and greater freedom. Intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. Each return a declaration that you're not lost. You're practicing. You're in training so that your actions are in alignment with your aspirations. Remembering, kindly returning to your intention, attention. This is how we train the mind. This is how we return to the truth of our life. Not through force, but through care. Not through analysis, but through awareness. Not once, but again and again. 1 time, 10 times, 1,000 times, 10,000, and more. Intention, attention, forgetting, remembering, returning. One time, 10 times, 1,000,000 times. And then one time more, you'll realize that something has shifted. In time, you realize that attention is beginning to more and more follow your intention. In time, you start to notice that your actions are more and more often aligned with your aspirations, that your actions begin to express your deepest truth. Until some point, you arrive and notice that life becomes what your heart has always known as possible. In time, your speech and actions express your love. This is the practice of freedom. This is the practice of the mind no longer at war with itself.